On today's show, Jamie Lee Curtis, Sigourney Weaver, Neve Campbell, Sarah Michelle Gellar, and me, Mark Ellis. And while it's true only one of those names will be appearing on this show, the four others will be duking it out for sisterhood survival supremacy, and they know a thing or two about surviving. All four are considered final girls, a term coined for a leading lady who makes it through a horror thriller with their life intact. So you'll forgive us if the occasional ending of Alien 3 or Buffy the Vampire Slayer Season 5 is up here. By and large, if you're a movie villain, or a creature of cinema, or even a spider in their house, I don't like your odds. Not against these gals who've combined to conquer the likes of murderous siblings, clinging aliens, undead armies, and, in a shocking twist, their own boyfriend?
What's the matter, Sidney? You look like you've seen a ghost.
Rendering a decision on who wins in this all-time battle is me. The guy who's never been to outer space, or ran over a fisherman, or had his brother try to stab him. I've never even been called on the phone and been asked scary movie trivia. And I think I'd do well at that one. Come on, Ghostface, step up. You got my number.
Do you want to die?
Here's how we'll determine a winner. Round 1, box office. Round 2, Tomatometer/audience score. Round 3, enemies. And then I'll do a wildcard round that Sigourney Weaver hopes will involve who's slept the farthest above the covers. Care to weigh in, Bill Murray? No, we don't have that. It's from Ghostbusters. I'm afraid of all ghosts, but Jamie Lee, Neve, Sigourney, and Sarah Michelle, they say bring it on, so I say let's get it on.
Come on!
Round 1, box office. Nothing makes for a night out at the movies quite like a good scary flick. So for all purposes of this and all rounds, we're going to keep each competitor's film resume to movies that exist somewhere in the horror, thriller, sci-fi range. Sorry, Cruel Intentions, I tried to squeeze you in. True Lies, I love you, but no. Heartbreakers? Well, Jennifer Love Hewitt was in I Know What You Did Last Summer, so I'm being told to move along.
So, are you gonna kill me, or are we just making small talk?
You, the dear viewer whose taxes don't in any way pay my salary, may be thinking that this round is a bit unfair for Sarah Michelle Gellar, as she was preoccupied making 8 great seasons of Buffy the Vampire Slayer on TV, while her counterparts were making hit movies. But to that, I'd simply say,
Scooby? Scooby? Go!
Scooby-Doo counts as a horror sci-fi movie. Whether it's a real ghoul or you're just freaked out by a talking dog, those flicks hauled in a combined $370 million at the box office, beefing up Sarah's overall total box office to over $900 million for a per-flick average of $136 million. One of the movies helping her out is Scream 2, which also stars Neve Campbell. She had a great 1996, as both The Craft and Scream, the original one, were released. And since then, her combined movies have gone on to accumulate $695 million total for a per-film average of $139 million. Her most boffo box office has been thanks to her starring role as Sidney Prescott in the Scream franchise. To date, the 4 movies have totaled $644 million. Yes, it's a great ensemble cast, but without Neve being the glue that keeps Woodsboro together, we ain't getting a series of films that rival the popularity of the previous movies they give a wink and nod to.
You're starting to sound like some Wes Carpenter flick or something.
Sorry, Tatum, I think you might mean John Carpenter, the fellow who directed Jamie Lee Curtis in her first starring role opposite looming shape Michael Myers. Still one of the most profitable movies of all time, 1978's Halloween made $188 million off a production budget that was less than what it cost one X-Men film to feed Hugh Jackman all that Wolverine protein. And while Jamie didn't appear in every Halloween sequel, she made the ones in which she did return count. As in counting moolah. Her Halloween films have totaled $587 million overall, but those aren't her only scare-centric titles. Jamie Lee Curtis also carried movies like Prom Night, The Fog, and Terror Train to financial success, although her average box office per film is the lowest of our 4 stars at $76 million per movie. Again, apologies to her and Billy Ray Valentine, but I can't toss Trading Places in here.
Don't say it, Louis.
So now Sigourney Weaver steps up to the plate. Regarded as a pioneer in the realm of badass women taking charge and saving the day at the talking pictures, and for good reason. Remember how predators struggle battling aliens? Yeah, they should have watched more Ellen Ripley game film. Her marquee franchise, Alien, has grossed a total of $730 million across her 4 movies so far. And when we toss in the likes of the Ghostbusters franchise and roles in thrillers like Copycat and The Village, this round is an easy win for Dana Barrett. But hey, even if we stick with just the Alien pictures, her per film average still ranks at the top of this heap at $156 million per outing. Okay, I might have tossed in her cameo in Cabin in the Woods too. That elevator scene is bonkers. Sigourney wins round number 1, and she's up 1-0 to nothing.
You got some moves on you, girl.
Round 2, Tomatometer/audience score. Okay, ladies, let's see who can prevent Ellen Ripley from going up 2-0. Yes, audiences love seeing a good chest-bursting alien, even if it doesn't sing and dance. But does the Tomatometer approve of Sigourney Weaver's outer space exploits? Yep. Well, kinda. Alien and Aliens are all-time sci-fi stalwarts, registering at 98 and 97% respectively. But before you go crowing, game over, man, the punchline is that her last 2 entries, Alien 3 and Alien Resurrection, are both rotten. And along with the certified fresh Cabin in the Woods, that gets her average to 77%. Still considerably above her competition, but movies like Ghostbusters 2, Copycat, and especially the rotten The Village at 42% anchor her average down further.
What nonsense are you saying?
Neve Campbell is showing up to play big time in this round, as she's the only other lady with a fresh average for her thrillers, notching 64%. Her high water marks are for Scream 2 at 82% and the original Scream at 79%. And while Scream 3 did go rotten, Scream 4 came back to fresh territory at 60% even. For completionists, The Craft is so close to fresh 55%. We're one good spell away. Maybe we get a sequel? Sarah Michelle Gellar has a rotten average of her film roles at 33%. The Grudge 2, The Return, both Scooby-Doo movies, they all punch in at 30% or lower. But here comes Buffy. If we toss in her seasons of fresh television, The Vampire Slayer and Angel are at 82 and 88% respectively, but it only gets her to treading water with a 40% average. That's okay. She's doing a voice in the new He-Man show, so SMG still has the power. It's all up to Jamie Lee Curtis here, and while her per film average is only 54% on the Tomatometer, what impresses me is how well she does outside of her Halloween wheelhouse. The Fog and Road games are fresh alongside her best Halloween hits. And speaking of those spooky movies, Jamie Lee Curtis can boast 4 films in the top 10 of all film catalogs combined. Which begs the question, what about the audience score? Jamie Lee Curtis has 5 of the top 10 in that list, as rotten Tomatometer movies like Halloween 2 make the leap from 30% to a fresh 63% according to the audience.
Why won't he die?
So while Sigourney Weaver certainly has an argument with her first 2 Alien movies, and Neve Campbell is within shouting distance, Laurie Strode is getting the W in round number 2. Which she probably hates because it's only going to draw more attention to her and thus get on the radar of Michael Myers. Mike, if you're watching, and let's face it, what else did you have in your eye calendar today? Don't stab the messenger. I met Jamie Lee Curtis once in a Quiznos parking lot. She was very nice. Oh, we're still doing the show. It's 1-1 to nothing to nothing.
Do you know that I pray every night that he would escape
What the hell do you do that for?
so I can kill him?
Round 3, enemy. When it comes to the first 2 rounds, Sigourney and Jamie Lee had a sizable head start as their careers kicked into high gear in the late 70s. Neve and Sarah Michelle didn't emerge as stars until the 90s. But you know who doesn't care about that timeline? Evil.
All right, I get it. You're evil. Do we have to chat about it all day?
As Sidney in the Scream franchise, Neve Campbell had to not only tangle with a mysterious killer who, through the 4 films, had multiple identities underneath the classic ghostface mask, that wasn't the only competition she faced. By the time we meet her in high school, she's already haunted by the tragic death of her mother, and those bratty kids at her educational institution didn't exactly form a safe space to nurture her recovery.
How do you gut someone?
You take a knife and you slit them from groin to sternum.
There was the constant press hounding as well, which only intensified once Gale Weathers made claims that the man they found guilty of killing Sid's mom may actually be innocent. That alone is enough to make anyone weary, and when we toss in the fact that her boyfriend, the Johnny Depp adjacent Skeet Ulrich, was half of the villainous gangsters trying to kill her, it's pretty rough for Sid. The 3 sequels further traumatized Sidney as she had to watch a sizable chunk of her friends get sliced and diced, well, into chunks. If she only had a mentor that could have lent some friendly advice as to how to battle a shape that won't stop, like Laurie Strode. Her sometimes bro Michael broke bad early, and by the time we see his first-person perspective in smooth Panaglide, he's already descended into a dead-eyed, stone-cold, lead-footed monster. And while I'd take Ghostface over Michael Myers at the NFL Combine, the slow, lumbering OG eventually arrived at his destination, Murder Town, which, if you're Hannibal Lecter, is the equivalent of Flavor Town. Laurie and Sidney both had to tangle with a specific masked entity. Sidney could never sleep because some other baddie always took up the mantle. Laurie couldn't get any shut-eye because killing Michael is tougher than prying a xenomorph off your face. What's that? What's a xenomorph? Ellen Ripley knows the answer. She's seen them attack her pals, threaten her freshly shaved head. Hell, she's even housed one inside her womb. And the problem with aliens is that they just keep wanting to make babies and procreate and kill anything that doesn't have 2 drooly mouths. And while I think we can all consider Ellen the ultimate survivor, she ultimately chose to sacrifice herself rather than allow the company to harvest what's going on inside her body. So Jamie Lee and Neve had to endure multiple battles with human-ish villains, and Ellen had to play an away game in deep space to encounter her nemesis. It's a tough call between these 3. But back on Earth, none of them had to deal with the constant threat of the undead armies that thrive on centuries of blood-sucking, day-napping power. That job belonged to Buffy.
I don't know. Think of something cool. Tell him I said it.
If you're known as the Vampire Slayer, you're probably good at your job. But this isn't a dream gig like being a pro athlete or an internet host. This was a lifelong task thrown at Sarah Michelle Gellar's trademark character when she, like Sidney, was still finding herself in high school. Our expert researcher Mark Hoffmeyer noted that she's killed hundreds of vampires in her day. And when you go off on so many anti-garlic mongers that Hoffmeyer loses count, you're doing something right.
Did I get it? Did I get it?
Then Buffy pulled an Ellen Ripley and sacrificed herself to save the world at the end of season 5. Don't worry, she came back in season 6 and picked up right where she left off. So even though she didn't make it through Scream 2, or The Grudge 2, or I Know What You Did Last Summer, she put up a hell of a fight against the Gordon's fisherman, and that whole battling the hordes of undead bloodsuckers in between cheer practice thing, yeah, that's enough to get her a win in round 3.
Shop and hang out and go to school and save the world from unspeakable demons. You know, I want to do girly stuff.
We got a doozy of a contest now. Can Neve even the score at 1 apiece, or will someone else emerge with an outright win? We're about to find out. Because now it's time for the Wildcard Round, iconic moments. Saving all of us mere mortals from the likes of outer space creatures, supernatural entities, and asshole boys is a really tough job. And it's impossible to pull off without creating a motherload of iconic moments along the way.
This is the moment when the supposedly dead killer comes back to life for one last scare.
Not in my movie.
These 4 ladies' combined game tape would make the vaulted NFL Films blush. And it kicks off with 40 years worth of Laurie versus Michael masterpieces that played out at the legendary Soldier Field, home of the Bears. I'm sorry, the whole NFL thing kind of carried me away. But they were from Illinois, so it kind of fits. My favorite moment between these 2 is when they see each other through the glass. Over multiple films, a version of this scene has played out in a variety of ways when a mere door separates good from evil, right from wrong, a hardened survivalist against a masked lunatic. Laurie is the only one in these flicks who stood up to Michael and lived to tell the tale. And in Halloween Halloween H2O, she ups the ante by saving her kid. Hey, look, folks, it's Josh Hartnett and his girlfriend. Hey, look, folks, it's Michelle Williams. Then she refuses to escape with them. Not now, not tonight, not ever. It's time to finish the game. She locks the gate, grabs an axe, and says, "Let's duel." Which kind of makes her Aaron Burr, and Mikey is the guy from the $10 bill. Let's not overlook more recent history, when Laurie gets America's least favorite power walker just where she wants him, locked up in the basement, burning his way into hell. And although the release of that sequel, Halloween Kills, has been pushed back a year, I can go ahead and count a scene from that teaser as iconic. Laurie gets a brief moment of relief, followed by the terror of hearing fire engine sirens coming to put out the flames. I salute you, firefighters, but please, let this house burn. Sometimes vampires can be burned alive. Or dead, is it? But they don't often fall for the whole getting the paper in the morning and forgetting that the sun is out routine. No, you usually gotta end their reign with a stake right through the heart, and Buffy earned the moniker of Vampire Slayer for a reason. Ladies and gentlemen, enjoy.
You know very well you eat this late. You're gonna get heartburn. Get it? Heartburn?
I'm super sorry, I forgot to warn any vampires to avert their eyes, but if it makes y'all feel any better, you're not the only one Sarah Michelle Gellar has pounded into dust.
Now who's the damsel in distress? Straight up.
In the Scooby-Doo movies, she ain't no damsel in distress, and as much as anyone else, it's Daphne that is the most fearless of the bunch. And in The Grudge, the paranormal terror is even more real. That flick might feature one of the most memorable horror movie shower scenes not starring Jamie Lee Curtis's mom. Gellar is such a badass, she even plays her heart out in a losing effort. It's a 3-part slugfest that Captain Hook has to endure before Sarah is finally felled in I Know What You Did Last Summer. And just for sheer Fright Fest entertainment, the Scream 2 death, that's one for the ages. But if it's Scream vengeance she seeks, get Sidney Prescott's number out of the school directory. The headshot on Stu at the end of the original is A-grade superstar material. Not to mention when she mimics Laurie Strode and has to take out her half-brother in Scream 3. By the time we got to Scream 4, most folks walked in assuming Ghostface was finally gonna get his woman, but no one told that to Neve. Jill, her niece, becomes the latest in the pantheon of masked Woodsboro creeps to meet her demise at the hands of Sidney.
You forgot the first rule of remakes, Jill. Don't fuck with the original.
It's a tough call for who has the bestest, mostest iconic moments so far, but... What's that? Good God, that's Ellen Ripley's music! Okay, maybe it's not actual notes or chords, but Sigourney certainly loves the rhythmic sound of an airlock. She's utilized it to her advantage in both Alien and Aliens. In the first adventure, she was so hell-bent on taking care of this thing that she locks the crew out. That's commitment to the job. Then Aliens gave us one of the greatest lines in the history of sci-fi thriller cinema.
Get away from her, you bitch!
That load lifter is so cool, and I have yet to see it under the tree on Christmas morning. Santa, if you're watching, I'm gonna keep asking.
Ho, ho, ho.
What separates Sigourney's marquee character from the pack is her unselfishness. She embraces the role of being a motherly savior, not just to Newt, or briefly an alien, but to all of us Earthlings. She is the mom that comforts our globe by choosing to kill an alien by sacrificing herself rather than risk this thing heading to our world. It's a tough call here as we're looking at decades of movie and television entertainment, but I'm giving this round, and thus the win, to Sigourney Weaver. Not only is she the archetype of what a tough protagonist looks like, you also want no part of her on the basketball court. Get home safe and take those skills to the rucker. What I admire about all of our contestants today is their extreme ability to save our ass while enduring an intense character arc. Their journeys would make Joseph Campbell add another volume to the hero with 1,000 faces. Through all her seasons of TV greatness, Buffy's entire worldview changed. She went from optimist to pessimist and learned to care about others so much that at one point, it cost her life. Twice.
The power.
Laurie Strode did her best to maintain a normal life, even though the fear of Michael's imminent return lingered. She was always ready, eternally prepared, and when the moments arrived, she came through in the clutch.
Happy Halloween, Michael.
Maybe more than anyone else, Neve Campbell, Sidney Prescott typifies the final girl concept. And by the end of Scream 4, we realize that there's only one unstoppable force in that franchise, her. And yes, kids, I think she's coming back for Scream 5.
I don't know about you, but I feel a whole lot better.
But my winner today is Sigourney Weaver on the strength of intergalactic martyr Ellen Ripley. She wasn't born ready to end it all for our greater good, but thank goodness she got there. You gotta think that even the Predators have an honorary spot in their Hall of Fame for Miss Ripley. But this is just one fella's opinion, and now the pressure is on you, dear viewer. Chances are at least one of these ladies has saved you without you even knowing it. So thank them by casting your vote in the comment section below and defend your choice. I read them all because I'm not busy saving Earth. I'm just a fan watching these movies and shows and getting inspired to revisit their amazing cinematic journeys. I think I'll do that tonight. Turn the lights off, fire up the subwoofer, put some Jiffy Pop on the stove. Oh wait, Drew, is that not a good idea?